Hey, come catch this wave with the Fixx squad. The Fixx is in. I'm Mr. Soul, I'm tuning in. What you doing?
Stand up. James left, but the king still reigns here. No tears, no love lost, no rain here. Delivers, I promise, Santa rain here. Love for the city still resides here. Fix for your ailment, faith that resides outside the lines. Detox your mind, cause it matters. Art outside the box, we pace better. The Fixx is in and we rock a channel. We rock with them for what's deep within. Expose those who talk but don't live. Expose those who talk but don't live. Take offense. Judge by the fruit from the tree. But if the fruit tastes like...
What's good, family? You tune back into the Fixx, your source of faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry. DJ Focus, Dice Gamble. You know what it is. It's time for our spiritual detox. And listen, we got exclusive for y'all. We bring an exclusive to you. Let's be very clear. I have been watching this brother do powerful things in the Lord for a long time. And everybody knows, he's been bold about his faith. And he's in a space to where a lot of people are not speaking about their faith. And I'm just encouraged every time I see him on sports talk, whether it's radio, whether it's on TV, and him always never shying away from a conversation of, no, my spirituality comes first over everything. So without further ado, y'all know who it is. Stop playing. One of the best sports analysts in the game from Fox Sports, Chris Broussard. What's going on?
What up, bro? I'm great, man. How you doing?
Man, all is well, man. I'm seriously, when I say the journey, I've watched you. It's real. You give us encouragement, radio personalities. We know we do it for, specifically for the Christian faith.
Right.
But you just give us encouragement, man. Because I think before you, I don't really remember another sports analyst being bold enough to say, you know what? No, I stand on my biblical principles first.
Right.
Because he got me. Over y'all, over any check.
Right.
He got me.
And I'll tell you what, there are a lot of, whether they're former players, there's a lot of former players. Mm-hmm. But even some just straight up broadcasters like myself or journalists are Christians. And you don't know it. And I'm not saying this as an insult to them, but I'm just saying there are a lot, like when I was at ESPN, a lot of the former athletes up there are Christians. Mm-hmm. And so it definitely the Lord is represented. In fact, there was actually a Bible study that got started up at ESPN, and they would do it once a month, and just for the ESPN employees. And I went to that when I could, and so yeah, it was. It's the Lord is represented up in there.
What's your experience now? I know that's been years removed since you've been at ESPN, but how those relationships you were able to build, are you able still to kind of talk with some of your ex co-workers or athletes, entertainers, and just be able to share the word a little bit more? Yeah,
I mean, I didn't leave ESPN under any negative circumstances. They offered me a contract. My contract was up. Mm-hmm. They offered me a new contract, and Fox offered me a deal as well. And I went to Fox because Fox was offering me the opportunity to become a personality.
Got you.
And whereas ESPN strictly wanted me in a reporter's role, whether it was sideline reporting or writing for ESPN.com or just doing the typical stuff I had been doing on SportsCenter. Whereas Fox wanted to put me in a role where I was giving my opinion more versus just reporting the news and what's happening. And so that's like a Stephen A. Smith or, Skip Bayless. They gave me the opportunity to get in that space. Mm-hmm. So now when you see me on FS1 or hear me on the Odd Couple on Fox Sports Radio, I'm not reporting any news. I'm not trying to break news anymore. I'm just giving my opinion. Gotcha. On what's going down. It's like on the newspaper, you have columnists who strictly write their opinion, and then you have the beat writers who cover the games and tell you what happened in the game, break trade news and things like that. It's like I moved from being a beat reporter to a columnist. It's just on television and radio.
I got you.
Yeah. But yeah, the relationships are cool. Ain't no issues.
Let's talk about these finals. Not a lot of people are excited about the two teams that are there. Let's be real. I know a lot of people ain't talking about it, but we got Denver, got Miami. Right. It's still going. We know Denver's up right now. It looks like it's over. It's 3-1 right now.
It's over.
What's your thoughts? Just first, when you saw these two teams were going to compete for the finals, what was your first reaction?
Well, Denver, I actually like watching Denver.
Do you?
I like watching Jokic.
Okay.
Jokic is bad.
Yeah, he is.
And we can get into him. I think he's the best player in the world. I think he's like a 7-foot version of Larry Bird. Slightly different. Obviously, Bird shot more from the perimeter. but the court savvy, the intelligence on the court, the passing ability, really being able to do everything: rebound, shoot, pass on the offensive end. Not a great defender, but because he's big and smart and rebounds, that's a part of defending too. He's an adequate defender. But yeah, so I like watching Jokic. I know brothers don't like hearing that he's the best player in the world, but it is what it is. In my opinion, he is. And now Miami, look, Miami, in terms of grit, heart, execution, smart play, all the positive intangibles, leadership of Jimmy Butler, they are one of the most impressive teams I've seen in recent memory in that regard. Because they got here on those issues because of that.
They did.
They are not better than Milwaukee. They are not better than Boston, but they played harder and they played smarter. And that's a credit to their coach, Eric Spoelstra, as well. But now they're up against a more talented team, as was Boston and Milwaukee, but a more talented team that plays just as hard and is coached essentially just as well as they are. And so they're going to lose. Like, they wouldn't have beat Boston and Milwaukee if they had played as hard and played as smart as Miami did. When there's a talent deficit. There's the saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
That's good.
And you could say, or work smart, which was Boston's problem. They scatterbrained. But when talent works hard, it's going to beat a lesser talented team that may work just as hard. And that's what you're seeing in these finals.
So what does that say for the future of the NBA? Because to your point, like you said, this Miami team, it's the way it's structured, the bench, and all the play that you get. Do you think we're in a good place? The NBA is in a good place with talent and for the future? Oh, yeah. The NBA is in a great place. I think that teams will learn a few things from Miami, other franchises. One, they will learn that you need to play hard. Because Boston had more talent. Absolutely.
And look, Joe Mazzulla, rookie coach, he'll probably be better next year. They brought in Sam Cassell. They're going to bring in some other veteran assistants to help him out. He had his bench, as far as his coaches, was really depleted. All right. He didn't have the support, and he himself was a rookie head coach. So he was overmatched. But he may get better, and I think those guys will learn to never take anything lightly. You can't have these lapses like they tend to have. You can't rest on your laurels like they tend to do. And so I think they'll be better because of that. I also think what you're seeing with Miami, and I've talked a lot about their 7 undrafted players, and 4 of them in the rotation. All right. Now, what do all those undrafted players have in common? They spent 4 years in college. And they came into the league as men. They aren't as talented as the guys that got drafted, because the guys that tend to get drafted spent 1 year in college, maybe 2 years in college, or they come from international, or now they're playing in the minor leagues, the overtime elite and stuff like that. But when you spent 4 years in college, you learn the game more. You're a smarter player. You're not as talented, so you tend to focus more on your execution and things like that. And those types of players have, this is an overstatement, but always tended to do well in the NBA. They don't necessarily become stars, but they become valuable pieces on really good teams. And so with Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Highsmith, like these guys that weren't drafted, they play smart and they execute, and they do that better than the more talented guys that may have only spent a year or 2 in college and are still young in the league. So even though so-and-so might be more talented, Caleb Martin can outplay him at times because he's working harder. And so I think what teams will see, they will put more stock in the guy that stays 4 years in college or 3 years in college than let's just get all the one and dones. And because what happened for a while, the NBA talent evaluators, if you stayed 3 years in college, it was like,
what's wrong with you?
Right. Like, you really don't have that much game, because you would be in the NBA already. And so now they're going to recognize the value in those guys, not as stars necessarily, not as the face of your franchise, but to fill those roles and play hard, which you always need those types of guys. Look at last night, or Friday night. Bruce Brown came in and had a terrific game for Denver and was a big part of why they won Game 4. And so guys like that, I think their value and their stock will rise because of what you've seen. And you go ahead and ask what you want, because there is a topic, though, on this I want to get to. I don't know if you was going to go there.
Well, I was going to talk about LeBron. What you think LeBron
Well,
do?
let's get to LeBron. Well, let's get to LeBron first. But the topic I do want to address is I mentioned I think Jokic is the best player in the world. If he's not, who is it? Giannis, right? The 3 top vote getters in the MVP were Giannis, not in this order, but Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic.
Yeah.
All right. They're, you could say, the 3 best players in the world. If you want to argue about Embiid, that's fine. And a 4th guy you might throw in there is Luka. All right. Who's the guy that is the best prospect that the NBA has seen since LeBron? Victor Wembanyama from France.
Yes.
But the point I'm getting at is the ultra elite players in the league right now are all international. Right. Now, you still have LeBron and Steph and guys like that, but they're older.
Yep.
I'm talking about the next generation of stars that are going to carry the league for the next decade. The ultra elite are essentially all international. Now, you still have Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, some really De'Aaron Fox, guys that are really great ballers. John Morant, hopefully he'll overcome his issues off the court. So you still have great American players, but the level above them right now are the international guys. So we'll get into that, why that is and what needs to change if we are going to, I guess, catch up with the world again. I hate to say it that way. But go ahead, we can talk LeBron.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think? Is this it for LeBron? Maybe one more season? Do you see him staying in L.A.? Does Kyrie go to L.A.? Does LeBron go to Dallas? It's been all type of stuff going on.
Right. But LeBron's not going to Dallas, not this year at least.
Right.
I think he'll stay in L.A. He brought up retirement after they lost to Denver, but I don't think he'd retire. I don't think most people think he's going to retire. I don't know, how much longer he plays. We'll have to see. He is obviously the greatest 38-year-old we've ever seen, the greatest player in his 20th season that we've ever seen, and still arguably a top 10 player in the league. But he can't carry you like he used to. And you can see that. His numbers are still prime LeBron numbers. But he's not nearly the player he used to be. One, he doesn't do it on the defensive end. He played actually good defense in the playoffs, but he can't play it sustained, all 48 minutes and things like that. And his offense just doesn't impact the game and impact winning like he always did in his prime. So that's really how you know he is not what he used to be. You can't just look at the numbers because it's easier to score in today's NBA. And all the international guys have said that it's easier to score in the NBA than it is overseas. And that's because they shoot more threes, so many more of your shots are worth 3 points as opposed to 2 years ago. And the floor is so spread out and spaced that once you beat your man, there's very little resistance at the rim. Playoffs is a little more, but during the regular season, it might be 1 or 2 people in the paint, 3 people in the paint that you got to find a way to finish over. Whereas if you go back and look at film in the 90s or early 2000s, obviously the 80s, the game was more situated around the paint. And so you grew up playing. I grew up playing. When I played college ball, high school ball, like you go into the lane, watch Michael Jordan or any of the older players of that era, there's 6, 7 people in the paint.
Thanks.
Teammates and opponents. So you had to be able to finish in traffic. Now, if you got a teammate who posts up, what does everybody say? Oh, he's clogging up the paint. We can't drop. Like, what? Like, that was, you had dudes often on both posts at times back in the day. So, because the floor is so spread, once you beat your guy, there's not as much resistance at the rim. And teams essentially challenge you to shoot the mid-range shot. Because what NBA teams tend to do now, for the most part, is I want to run you off the three-point line. So if you're at the three-point line, I'm running at you so you don't take that three. So you put it on the floor and go past me. And then they protect the rim. So they want to keep you from shooting a three or a paint shot. And so that open shot is that mid-range. They don't just give it to you, but it's not. The mid-range jumpers aren't nearly as contested as they used to be back in the day because defenses feel like that's the worst shot in basketball. Because it's only worth, especially the long two, it's only worth 2 points and it's further out from the paint. So it's easier to score in today's NBA. So my point is, look, LeBron, I don't think he's going to win another championship. I don't think Kyrie's going to go there because Kyrie, I think, wants to get paid. And to go to the Lakers, he'd have to take a pay cut. Now, he can still get about $30 million a year, but I don't think he wants to do that. I think that's where the LeBron going there. He loved to play with LeBron, but he wants LeBron to take the pay cut, you know. And so, I think the Lakers, I think what they should do is keep the core of AD and LeBron, keep Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves, and keep most of the players that they ended up having in the playoffs and just tweak it a little. Maybe you add a little something here or there, but hope that team building chemistry over the course of a season is in position to compete with Denver and whoever else is in their way in the Western Conference.
Listen, DJ Focus, Chris Broussard, we talking faith in sports today. Listen, we got to go to a break. We're coming right back. Keep it locked. You tuned into The Fixx.
Only Culture Radio. We're not just background noise. We play the music that inspires you because every song has a story. Christian hip-hop and R&B music and talk on Siriusxm channel 154, 24 hours a day. Holy Culture Radio is changing the game. Discussions about faith, arts, vocation, and education. We talk about the real issues that affect our communities and work together to find solutions. Join the discussion at holyculture.net and be heard.
All right, DJ Focus, listen, you tap back into The Fixx, your source of faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry with an exclusive. We're still talking with one of the best to do it, analysts, broadcasters, Chris Broussard. We're talking faith in sports. So, Chris, you brought us some during break. Adam Silver has talked about possibly doing the international versus the best American players in the All-Star game. Why do you like that?
I love it because, one, the All-Star games is getting worse and worse.
Oh, yeah, it's getting terrible.
Players aren't putting forth any effort. You score 50 points in the All-Star, so what? Everybody shooting wide open threes and getting easy dunks. The thought is that the pride of playing for your country, playing for America, and playing against the world would spark the players to really try hard. The international players, look, Jokic isn't great in the All-Star game because he's going to play it like a real game. Giannis, you see him go out there in the All-Star game and really want to compete and play hard, and people looking at him like, dude, relax. We out here just having fun. I think those two and maybe other international players would approach it like, we here to play. And we're here to beat y'all. And so the American players would have to respond or get embarrassed. And so I think the thought is that we want to increase the competitiveness of the All-Star game. So what better way than to do it that way? And let's keep it real. I hate to say it. I'm American, but the international team would be better right now. The starting five of the international team is Luka Doncic, Jamal Murray, Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid. I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the bench. I got Andrew Wiggins off the bench. I got Domantas Sabonis off the bench. Lauri Markkanen. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Like, at the benching, they don't have maybe as much depth. But that starting five, those are 4 of the 5 best players in the world.
They still can't beat the American top 5.
Why not?
I just don't think they can. So I like the idea of it, though.
Do you think right now who are the best players in the world right now in the NBA?
If I could pick 5, when they playing, so to your point, when they playing top elite, I'm gonna put Steph out there.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna put Kyrie out there with Steph too as well.
As a top 5?
In an All-Star game.
Well, this would be a competitive game, though. I mean, if you put an international, All-Star game, I don't want Nikola Jokic if it's about show.
Well, here's my thing.
And dunking.
I'm talking
about a competitive game. I'm talking about real basketball.
Okay, you got a good argument. Because my thinking is, I always get upset when we send the team over there to play in the Olympics. I don't feel like we send the right team over there. And it's because the top players don't want to play anymore compared to how the Dream Team and everybody else wanted to play. So I always struggle in that.
We haven't lost since, early 2000s. Once we revamped the way we do it, we've been winning. And so I'm not saying one country is better than America.
Gotcha.
But I'm saying right now, the best player, the absolute best players in the NBA are international players.
They are.
The last, 5 MVP awards?
Yes.
Have been given to international guys. And again, the best prospect since LeBron coming over is an international guy. And what I think is going on is that internationally, they turn pro early. Now, here in America, sports is related to school, right? So if you're in high school or college playing basketball, you're only going to be able to practice so much because of school, right? And they got rules, limits to how much you can play in practice. But I also when they're overseas and they're turning pro at 14, 15 years old. Now they may get tutoring and stuff like that, but they are essentially professional basketball players at that point. They're working constantly on their game. Whereas our 14 and 15-year-olds, they're training a lot of stuff, but they still have school. And also over there, when you're 15, you're not a star. You're playing with grown men who are beating you up every day in practice. Your coach is getting on you and coaching you during practice. And so you are humble. You're just working hard.
You got that prima donna mentality.
Right. Over here, when you're 15, 16, and you the man, you got millions of followers on social media. Everybody telling you how great you are. And because of the prominence now of AAU, if you my AAU coach and I take a bad shot, I'm not defending, I'm not passing the ball, you can't jump on me. Because if you do, I'll go play for the next brother down the street, right? And so that's the problem. And I think if you notice, one thing they do that's smart overseas that we should just do here, it's an easy adjustment. They train all the players the same, regardless of your height. So if you're a 6-footer in 5th grade, you're still training all the same ball skills, shooting skills that the guards are doing. And so that's why you see a Nikola Jokic has such great guard skills, because he trained like that. And he also trained like a big. So he's got post skills too. And so we need to, I think, adopt that over here as well. So I think those are some of the things. And finally, I just think we playing more games over here. AAU, you may play 7 games in a weekend, but you're not training.
Nope.
You're not working on skills. And a lot of our guys just work on the skills that they're great at already. The handle, the shooting the three, things like that. But you have to work on things you're not good at or things you don't want to do, but add that to your game, And so I think those are fixes we need to make so that we can start producing the absolute best players in the world again.
That's good. Listen, let's talk about it. We got to talk about King Movement. You do so much powerful stuff with King Movement. What you got coming up? What's going on?
Yeah, the King Movement, it's going great. We got our chapters throughout the country now, about 20 or more. And we've been doing events at the All-Star Game, NBA All-Star Game, the Super Bowl, and the Summit, our annual King National Summit, which we do every year. It has been great. We did it in March in Philadelphia. It was phenomenal. And this next March in 2024, we're doing it at your church.
Absolutely.
The Word Church, Pastor R.A. Vernon. And so my executive director, Dr. Joseph Bryant, and myself have visited the church and seen. He's obviously, it's a phenomenal facility.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to have the summit there next spring, and we're looking forward to that. We will have great speakers. We will have great workshops on finances, on being a husband and father, on how to share the gospel, on an individual level, because a lot of people don't know how to share the gospel. Urban apologetics, we always do that, and we got
Dr. Mason coming out?
Slayers. Well, Dr. Mason, Eric Mason spoke at the last one in Philadelphia.
Yes. We
We had Damon Richardson, who did a great presentation on, we call it like barbershop theology or whatever. You in the barbershop and brothers bring up Islam, brothers bring up Kemet or something like that. And he just gave us great arguments on how to combat all of that from obviously a Christian and biblical perspective, but just a straight up African history perspective, because so much of what you hear on the streets, on the block, in the prisons, in the barbershops, where people combat Christianity, is just patently false.
It is.
And it's not even proper African history. You know, and it's funny because so many of the people who are Afrocentrists or Afrocentric and promote African history, they'll try to combat the African Christian history. You know what I mean? Where Ethiopia is one of the 2 oldest Christian countries in the world, you know, and so many of the early theologians who shaped the theology that we still follow today were Africans and things like that. So the summit is powerful. We have hip hop, you know, performers. We had Jafia Life, Jay Johnson, DJ Wado was at the last summit.
Oh, family.
Yeah, we do a lot. We have basketball. We're gonna have a 3-on-3 basketball.
Don't skip past you. spit some bars last year. Don't.
Oh, I
this
did.
Year.
I did.
Yeah.
I had to go old school with that Melly Mel flow. But nah, it was fun. I spit a rhyme that I wrote in like 1990.
Really?
Yes.
You got a project you sitting on? You ain't told nobody?
Nah. I was just. I was running around at that point. I was living in Cleveland.
Gotcha.
And I was running around rapping in the projects, rapping on the streets with brothers. You know, we rapped at Geauga Lake. Believe it or not.
Wow.
I was doing all that out here in Cleveland. But so we have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
Okay.
So we have typically it's just been an open tournament. And we get some hoopers. Like we get dudes that can play, that played in college. Headache from the A&1 mixtape tour. He's a member of King. He typically plays in it. And so last year when we had it in Philly, a lot of the older brothers who played, they were like, man, we need a 35 and over, you know, tournament as well.
Well, you coming to the right city next year.
Yeah.
Because
so
we got plenty of that at the Word Church. I might be in one of them.
Hey, let's do it because publicize. We want as many brothers as we can get, obviously, to come to this. It's March 14th through the 17th, 2024. 3-on-3 tournament. Great spiritual food, mental food, practical food, just for how to live practically in victory in this world. And great food, great fellowship. It's going to be fun, man.
It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people if anybody want to be a sponsor, anybody want to donate to the event, tell them where they can send us?
Yeah, you can contact us at king@kingmovement.com. king@kingmovement.com. And someone will get back to you if you want to be a sponsor or if you're just interested in how to register. And you register at kingsummit.org. Okay. kingsummit.org. It's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait to get back here and do it.
Can't wait as well. Listen, talk about the MLK Share the Dream before we get out of here too as well.
Yeah, it is a project that I'm a part of where we are basically the principles that Martin Luther King taught. Like, obviously, America obviously America's always had racial division and strife. But in my lifetime, last 50 years or so, it's probably the most polarized I've ever seen. Not just by races, that's a big part of it, but it's just very polarized. Like, if you're on the right or the left,
talk about it.
Those are words people hate you.
Talk about
right?
it.
If you on
believers
the left,
too. Speak to that. We talking about Christians.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is that I do think there's an answer for this division in our country, and it would be that if Christians were more Christian than Democrat or more Christian than Republican.
Speak.
Right? Because what we need to do instead of as Christians, as believers, we should not adopt a left-wing agenda or a right-wing agenda. We should adopt a kingdom agenda. And if you had a platform that had a kingdom agenda, and if we're talking about secular politics, you don't call it a biblical agenda, but you just pro-family, but also helping the poor and about justice for all and things like that, that type of agenda, I think, would pull Christians from the right into it and Christians from the left into it, but also attract Muslims and Orthodox Jews and Mormons and people like that who aren't Bible believing Christians, but have similar moral values.
That's good.
And so I think if the church was united, Jesus said in John 17, he prayed that we would be one, that the future believers would be one as he and the Father are one. And he said, because then the world will believe that the Father sent me, that the world will believe in Jesus as the Son of God if his followers were unified. We're as divided, if not more, than the world. And so we can't stand, as he said, a kingdom divided against itself can't stand. So I blame a lot of this on the church. A lot of it's the history of America that supposedly was Christian, but yet clearly racially oppressive. And a lot of people associate that with Christianity. So when a lot of people say they don't want to, believe in Christianity or accept Christianity, or we need to get rid of Christianity, they're really thinking about racism and sexism and things like that. They're not thinking of true biblical Christianity. Gotcha. And so in addition to unifying around a true kingdom agenda, we also as believers need to walk it out biblically and show America what true biblical Christianity looks like, because that's attractive. Whereas what American history looks like under the guise of Christianity is not attractive at all. And so I just think that those are some things that could be done to really, at the very least, unify the church. And I think if the church was unified in America, we could have a much stronger voice in overall in mainstream America. So, but to share the dream, it's just about using the principles that Dr. King taught.
Gotcha.
To, grow as a community and to be unified around his principles of love and hope and justice and things like that. And so it's very powerful. It's a video series. It's a book, but also a video series. And it'll be in churches. It'll be in schools. And it's a powerful thing, and I'm very excited about it.
We got a release date for it when it's dropping. The
release date is
August 27th.
There you go.
Yeah, forgive me. Yeah. Share the Dream. It drops Sunday, August 27th. So we looking forward to this. This is going to be powerful. Before I get you out of here, 50 years of hip hop. We're celebrating this year. I know you're a hip hop head.
Yes.
Give us your overview of where you think the state of hip hop is altogether, not just Christian hip hop, but hip hop itself.
Wow. God, I mean, it's hard to say. Christian hip hop, let's start there.
Go ahead.
I think it's in a good space.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you have Holy Culture Radio, which is huge.
Absolutely.
I mean, to have a 24-hour-a-day Christian hip hop station, and it's banging. I mean, the stuff is banging.
Facts.
I think I said this last time I was on your show. When I was, I got saved in 1989, and those early 90s, man, and I was into Christian hip hop. It would be like a really legit dope Christian hip hop album would come out like once every 9 or 10 months. Right. And I would just bump it for 9 months straight till the next one came out. Right. Yeah. And now, it's
every week
stuff. Right.
Bangers.
Yes, it's plenty of stuff.
And what I love now too as well, I would argue over the last decade, mainstream as well as the artists, athletes, entertainers in the mainstream, they respect Christian hip hop.
Yes.
They're networking and have relationships with Lecrae's, the D1s, and I can go down the list, Bizzles. So they even respect. They got something to say over here.
There's no doubt. The artistry is just as good.
Yes.
There's no question about it. So Christian hip hop, I think, is in a good space. As far as overall mainstream hip hop, I mean, to be honest, I'm not really into a lot of the young cats in the new, whatever the style of hip hop they're doing.
You ain't listening to Lil Baby?
That ain't
no Lil Dirt.
I'm not really bumping that, But I think that hip hop has gotten so big. There's genres within hip hop.
Facts.
So the secular hip hop, I'll listen to some old school secular hip hop.
Me too.
But also the new secular hip hop that I listen to is more underground.
Yes.
More cats with lyrical skills. It's it's more throwback type stuff that is not necessarily getting a lot of radio play. There's still good, obviously some good hip hop on radio, but I don't know. I mean, secular hip hop, I don't know where to say the state of that is because I don't feel like I don't like it as much as I like the old school round. But now maybe that's because I'm a little older.
What's your thoughts on artists like Chance the Rapper, Justin Bieber being more vocal about their faith and them doing certain songs here and there? We know Kanye has done multiple faith-based projects. We know they're not Christian hip-hop artists, but the faith-based projects. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great.
Okay.
And I think, one song that really impacted me strongly before I became a Christian was KRS-One, Why Is That?
Yes.
And he was talking about the Bible.
Yes.
So you can reach people like that. There's no question about it. There's no doubt that the world will embrace a worldly artist doing a gospel song more than they'll embrace a real like devout Christian doing Christian music. You know, because as long as like if you do a Christian song or a gospel song, but you also got songs on the album where you cursing, you talking about women in a negative way, you talking about violence, whatever, you know, they'll embrace that. But if you have an album that's got none of that, it's just straight, whether straight positive or straight gospel, that's when the world gets leery because it brings conviction.
It does.
It don't bring conviction when it might be dope and it might be good and it might make you think. So that's why I said it still can be positive. Because it might make you think. But as long as this other jams on there where he's talking about killing somebody, it's not going to convict you. Because you like, it's God, but he's still doing this. I don't have to, it's not challenging me to change. You know what I'm saying? But again, it can still use you. I think it's Philippians where Paul, I might be mistaken, but where Paul said, some preach the gospel out of selfish ambition or deceit. But I thank God that the gospel is preached. Because even if a guy is a hypocrite, a non-believer, a scam artist, whatever, and he's preaching the gospel, if you hear it and you believe it, it can change your life. So even if he don't believe it, even if he's, a charlatan. And so with the word going forth, I'm not saying you don't have to live it. Ideally, you live it. But the word going forth is so powerful that even if it's the wrong vessel doing it, it still can change people's lives for the better.
No, that's real. That's real. Listen, appreciate you coming through, rocking with us today, Chris. I just want to give you your roses again. Once again, thank you for everything you're doing for not only the culture, but just in general. Like, you are a good representation of what a man should look like. I'm just being honest. I know you ain't perfect, but I'm just saying, like, we are glad that we
have you. My wife will tell you that.
Mine too. Mine too. But it's still good to give, like I say, we want to give our brothers roses and tell them, listen, you're important, you're valued, keep doing what you're doing. So that's all I want to do.
I appreciate that. And I would say this, that it is important for the world to see believers that they respect for various reasons. They respect them because of their intelligence, their athletic ability, their success, their wealth, whatever it may be. It's a secular reason. They respect them and then see, wow, and he's a Christian. Wow, and he loves Jesus. She loves Jesus. It's important for them to see that because that can minister to people and bring them to the Lord.
Listen, DJ Focus out.